from up there down to here. Okay. When the gold miners arrived here in 1863, the top of that cliff was the ground level. Okay. Top of this cliff down here was the ground level. Top of that cliff down there was the ground level, and the top of that little lump behind the gold office, that was the ground level. So from 1863 until 1970, they were excavating this claim. They got the gold and put it in their pocket. They piled up the rocks in nice neat rows so that the claims would drain down to the river, and the sand and the dirt went into the river and out to sea. Okay? We're actually on the high point. The claim goes right down to the river on either side. Okay, so they shifted an awful lot of dirt. Come on up and I'll show you the machines they used. Gold and there's quartz reef gold. That means that there's two types of gold mines. There's alluvial gold mines and there's quartz reef gold mines. This mine here is an alluvial gold mine. The gold is free in the river gravel. But this is an interpretive centre, so they wanted to, we set it up, wanted to show both types of gold mining. So they went to an awful lot of trouble. They dug a hole in the rock, and they collected up all the bits for stamping back from the mountainside, brought them down here, got it going so we could see it running. Unfortunately, we had a breakdown last week, so I can't run it. But this machine turns rock into sand. And if there's gold in that rock, then there's going to be gold in the sand. So the gold miner's problem then was to get the gold out of the sand. They had two different methods up until 1980. The cyanide method and the mercury method. If you think that neither of those sound very nice, you would be quite right. We are showing the mercury method here. This is a sheet of copper. This is a working machine that would be dead flat, no dents, beautifully polished. They buy a bucket of mercury and they pour it onto the copper. The copper and the mercury are slightly attracted, so the mercury would spread out and create a mirror in front of the machine. Then they turn the machine on and the slurry of sand, water and gold would flow over the mercury. The mercury is highly attracted to the gold. It bonds with it in what's called an amalgam. If you're familiar with silver amalgam fillings that were used in New Zealand dentistry for many years, it's exactly the same thing except with gold. Okay? So, the gold would stick to the mercury, the sand and the water would flow down the drain and into the river, and when they thought that the mercury wasn't going to absorb any more gold, they'd stop, they'd scrape up the amalgam, they'd put it in this bowl over here because it still had some grit in it. This is basically a giant motorised mortaring vessel, and that refines the grit down to that concentrate size. It wasn't going to affect the gold any longer. Then they would scrape the amalgam out of there, they'd take it over and put it into a retort like this. They'd bolt it into the cast iron vessel, put that end in the fire, pipe end in a bucket of cold water, and they'd boil the mercury out of the amalgam. Something that they did outside, and you're always very careful to stand upwind because the mercury vapour is very poisonous. Okay? At the end of the process, they hope to have all their mercury back in the bucket, and in the retort, a lump of fused gold dust. They'd then put in a furnace, melt down until it was liquid, pour it into a bar mould, pull it down real quick and rush off to the bank to pay the wages. This machine is powered by water. This is a tilting wheel. So the water comes down the pipe, squirts into this cup, makes the wheel go around really fast. That drives the belt drives the gear train drives the cross shaft. This is on it, those are hand lifters, they lift up the stamping piece and they come down gradually and crush the ore into the rock. display claim, okay? It's a display mine. We're not actually allowed to mine the gravel any longer because it belongs to the GOC and they want to preserve it for history. The gravel that you're going to pan comes from the next door claim. We bring it up when necessary. And for that reason, there's a few things about this mine that aren't quite right. Okay, first of all is the grass. It should not look like the Gold Sea the way it does. It should look just like a dusty gravel pit, okay, because it's a gravel pit on the move. We're either working our way into the hillside or along the hillside. Every now and then we'd have to stop, disconnect here, move the monitor forward and put in another length of pipe so we're closer to the cliff. The second thing that's wrong here is that the monitor and the riffle box are not close enough to the cliff. If we were really working this mine, we'd have them as close as possible. So close in fact that if the cliff suddenly fell down, we would want to be very quick on our toes to get out from underneath. Third thing is the tail race. The tail race is far too wide for a real gold claim. That's because it's actually the creek bed for the creek that comes out of the mountain. And when it rains, you need the extra width. I'm going to put some in. So we've got 3 little flakes of gold there, I think. Tiny. You see them there? Yeah.
Okay. That's what we're looking for.
That's what you're looking for. Yep. Or makes it very difficult to work the gravel, and it's heavy, and you guys are on holiday and you shouldn't have to work that hard. So, 3 different things that we need to do to get the gold out of the gravel. The first thing we need to do is wash out the dirt. Okay, the dirt is sticky, it's holding everything together, it's stopping the gold travelling freely through the sand and the gravel. Okay, once the dirt's gone, the gold has no option but to sink to the bottom of the dish, because the gold is so much heavier than anything else in the dish. Okay. The next heaviest thing in the dish is iron sand. So if you're getting iron sand but no gold, you know that you're doing it right. There just wasn't any gold in that particular handful of gravel. Okay. So to wash out the dirt, submerge the dish in the gravel, in the water I mean, and shake it backwards and forwards to get everything moving, and change the water lots. If you can't get things moving easily, grab a stone and give it a stir. The soil, or the ground here is full of shale oil. Okay? Schist and shale and mica, which is the other mineral that's in it, are all very, very oily. When you water your garden around here, it's more likely to just flow off and to the lowest point and sink into the ground. So,
So you know you're not pouring gold away.
I know I'm not pouring the gold away because the gold's so heavy it just will not.
Even just like that, it'll be dropping.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to do that, with the water swirling around like that. You think of it. Yeah.
Now, the rock here is full of another mineral called iron pyrite. Fool's gold. Yeah. So you've got silver and bronze there. Okay, the bronze, if you're desperate to find gold in your gold pan, it's not hard to be fooled into thinking that's gold. Okay, especially if it's little flakes that you're looking for. However, you'll see if you look very carefully at it, it is crystalline in construction, okay, whereas the gold is not. The gold's a metal, it's smooth, okay. So that's one way to tell it apart, but I will show you how to be absolutely sure when we come right down to the end. So once you've got most of the dirt out, pick out the bigger stones, make sure they're nice and clean, no gold sticking to them, and throw them in the bin at your feet. Also make sure that you're not actually picking out a gold nugget and throwing it out. You can be sure I check those bins after you guys have gone home. Over so that it's right on the edge. Now this is very important because you want the gold as far away from the top of the gravel as possible. So the biggest depth that you can achieve in the dish is with the gravel right on the edge. And then give it a really good shake to make sure that gold is down the bottom. Now as we're shaking, the pebbles are actually rising up to the top. They're coming up to the top because the sand is solidifying below them. So at the end of the washing process, we've got the pebbles on the top, underneath is the sand, and in the fold of the bowl right down the very bottom, that's where the gold should be, okay? Because it has no option, because it is slave of gravity. And we have total faith in gravity, don't we?
Yes.
Yes. So, since we know the gold's got to be on the bottom, we can afford to get rid of some of the stuff on the top. So I'm just going to go to technique number 2. I'm going to float the pebbles off the top of the sand. So I'm holding the bowl at 45 degrees. I'm lowering it down and pulling it up, and the pebbles are just going to flow off the top of the sand, just like that. And the ones that don't, just push them out with your fingers. And then give everything another good shake. Yes, a big nugget would really throw a spanner in the works right now. Top of the gold. Okay. I'm going to identify the gold by colour, and then I'm going to identify it for sure by the way it behaves. Okay. So I've got a little bit of water in there. I'm just swirling it around. I'm swirling from my right to my left. I suspect if you're left-handed, you probably want to do it the other way around. And I'm looking here on the left-hand side of the pile, because that's where the gold should appear. So here we go. It's either going to be down in the fold of the bowl here, or it's going to pop up onto the top. And you can see how many glittery things there are there that could potentially be gold. Just float away.
It just floated back. Yeah, but I saw it. Yeah.
I hate it when they float.
Yeah.
And, however, we'll carry on.
Is that it there?
No. Oh, yeah, it could be. Yes, it is. Or one of the other ones.
Oh, look at it. Just sitting there.
Okay. So. And it will stick to your finger. See it there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then touch it to the water in the bottle, and it will plummet down to the bottom. And the next piece of advice I'm going to give you is the best piece of advice you'll get all day. Check. Make sure that it's not still on your finger. Make sure it's in the bottle. And then screw the lid on carefully. Okay? I have taught you everything I know. Now it's your turn.
Go. Tell me that you ready to go. I'll be here waiting. I'll be here waiting. its grew so big it pushed a hole straight through the sky. The ground beneath us caved in every time. So God could hear you cry. All our cowards curling up in smoke like a flame into the night. We didn't mean the stuff we said in bed that broke the lie. I might be lost again, that I haven't seen you too. Oh, might be lost, but I'm not going out without a fight. I'd love to see